So hello everyone and welcome to In the Pod. I am your host today. I am Daisy Hill, the Department Manager of the Expert Witness team. And today we're joined by a really exciting and interesting guest his work sits at the intersection of psychology, law, and therapeutic practice. So I'm so excited to welcome George Dimitrov.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daisy. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today. So thank you for your invitation.
No, of course. So we're really happy that you said yes. And just for some further background, you're an experienced psychotherapist, forensic psychologist, expert witness, and the director of an International Hypnotherapy Association in the UK.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So basically, my journey is somewhat unique because it spans over 27 years across forensic psychology, psychotherapy, as you mentioned. Many years ago, when I graduated in psychology, basically I was quite fascinated by how the human brain works, obviously, like most of us. Then I had the chance to start working within the Ministry of Interior for a couple of years, which means I worked very close to the police. I did all of this, witness reports, profiling, criminal stuff, training the staff, recruiting, all of this type of officers, different types of teams, departments, all of this. They were going through a psychological recruitment. And yes, all of these things, they were quite fascinating. And I do remember I was asked multiple times by different friends of mine whether the job I did was quite heavy, whether it was a kind of burden to me. I always said, no, actually, I don't feel any burden because I really loved what I was doing at the time. And it's still there, but now it's a little bit obvious in a different way. So when I left the place, I was dedicated to my private practice for a couple of years. I was fascinated by hypnotherapy at the time, which was a little bit different than what I did. However, I definitely felt that I could help a lot of people using hypnotherapy at the time, which was a little bit like too much, like a fantasy, I can say, quite romantic, quite ideal, basically, attitude. Anyway, so after a couple of years practicing, I realized that hypnosis, actually, hypnotherapy cannot be kind of like ideal treatment for everything. So it can be helpful sometimes, but not all the time. There was quite a big diversity, a variety of different clients. So they were coming for different reasons. And some of their reasons were quite, well, as a professional, I take everything seriously. But other people would say that it may sound a little bit strange sometimes. What I mean, for example, one day there was a lady who came to me and said, well, I want you to hypnotize me. So in hypnosis, for me to confirm that I haven't cheated to my boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I had this, honestly, yes. And her boyfriend at the time was actually a police officer, and she noted to me that he can be quite paranoid sometimes, these jealous people. And I've been always actually abiding by the science first. So I was putting the science first. And at that time, at that specific case, I explained her, I say, look, hypnosis can never be used as a kind of proof. However, she insisted. And I said, well, even if you say being in hypnosis that you didn't cheat on your boyfriend, it's not a proof, you understand? She said, yes, never mind, because we discussed this with him. He definitely insists and this kind of stuff. I do remember a lot of stuff. If you ask me about each single case, probably I will not be able to recall everything, of course. But some of the cases are still in my mind from that time. We're talking about over 20 years ago, maybe. Yes, somewhere there, yes.
Yeah.
There were people interested in reincarnation, post-life regression. Other people were interested in what they're going to be in their future life, actually. I have to clarify that this type of cases, they were actually the minority of what I was doing. Most of the cases were quite common, I would say, like, PTSD, depressions, but not severe depressions, because then we will definitely need psychiatric involvement. But this kind like like mild, I would say, psychological issues. I didn't use hypnosis only at that time. I was acting as a psychologist on other cases as well, but I was definitely fascinated by hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And yes, sorry, my response is so lengthy now, probably.
No, it's all interesting. Talk as freely as you want.
Thanks. Yes, because in my work, with the psychologist, normally we don't talk a lot. So if you give us the chance, believe me, it may be hard to stop.
It's okay, we have time.
I met a person who started teaching me in hypnosis all of those years ago, and probably because he was quite enthusiastic in what he was doing. Unfortunately, he is not among us anymore. But I felt probably his excitement doing hypnosis, and from outside, he seemed to be a little bit actually quite rigid as a person, as a teacher, if you want. Even he wouldn't go for any kind of like something like parapsychology, something like this fortune telling things. Stay definitely too far away from these things. So he would prefer not to go ahead within a specific case rather than going into kind of what is not scientifically proven already. And probably I got this attitude from him, or for me, I don't know, probably having this engineering background first. Probably my attitude is to analyze the things pretty much more rather than going straight without thinking what the consequences may be. I definitely found at the time that hypnosis actually can unlock some resources of the personality, which can be quite helpful. Again, it doesn't heal everything, so we shouldn't accept hypnosis as something like applicable everywhere in all possible cases. But in some specific cases, like in criminal investigation, for example, when the investigators hit the wall, when they need a little bit like more memory from the witnesses, hypnosis can be definitely helpful if applied in a good way, like in a measured way. We're going to talk about this probably in a bit. So yes, I'm not doing hypnosis as much as I did in the past. Sometimes I still do. It's more like relaxation techniques, like in mild psychological conditions, this kind of stuff. But all the time, I still meet a lot of people. I'm not blaming them at all, but I quite often meet actually people asking me for some unrealistic results whether they can, yes, whether somebody can be forced to do something they don't want to, or this kind of stuff. I basically mention all of these things in my book, which was published in 2012, many years ago. So, yeah, so in the forensic settings, definitely we have to abide by the rules. So I don't know whether is the right place to mention, but I'm a member also of this Expert Witness Institute, and currently I'm going through the bond salon, criminal law and family law. So hypnosis actually can be used in the UK, because in the Crown Prosecution Service they allow the hypnosis use under specific circumstances. But it's not very popular because of a lot of reasons. Yeah, it's not quite popular.
What do you think, just going off that, like what are some of the misconceptions about therapy in the legal settings?
Yes, okay. To be honest, some people actually make an association between hypnosis and religions, which I believe is nothing between them. There is no bridge between them at all. I've met some Christian people. They were saying, well, hypnosis is against the Bible and something like that. And I've been always asking them, why do you think it's against the Bible? And I spoke to some Christian pastors here. It's very hard for them to explain why they believe actually hypnosis is against the Bible, because the word hypnosis actually comes, I can't recall the exact year now, but I think in 19th century, actually it comes from England, from James Braid, who was a surgeon in Manchester. So initially he was so skeptical towards hypnosis, but he attended a kind of like local performance provided by somebody called La Fontaine,
Mhm.
a Swissman, I think. And actually, Dr. Brett, after going back home at the same evening, he wanted to try hypnosis on his wife, and he used what we call eye fixation method now. He used a small spoon, like a shiny spoon, and actually he was quite surprised to see that it worked. And after that, he started using hypnosis for medical, like surgical operations and stuff.
Right.
And especially in the medicine, I still truly believe that hypnosis should have quite major part in terms of anesthetic. And
Really?
yeah, like also, dental procedures, this kind of stuff, pain control. I would
Mhm.
definitely go for hypnosis if I know that the specific doctor has got the skills and experience in using it.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, in terms of like pain relief and
No, actually, yes, during the Second World War, when the anesthetic was not, so the anesthetic used at the time was quite primitive. So it didn't work all the time, and a lot of soldiers at the battlefields, they had a kind of allergy towards the anesthetic used at the time.
Mhm.
So I know that there was psychiatrists from America trained in using hypnosis, like straight there at the battlefield for critical operations. And that's how actually the hypnosis started being used for medical reasons.
Mhm.
After that, Freud, which is quite popular, a lot of
Mhm.
people are
Yeah.
aware of him. Actually, he used hypnosis as well for 3 years in his practice to basically to to have this direct path to the unconscious mind. But after those 3 years, actually, he stopped using hypnosis. He got rid of it. It's still on the question why he did that, why he stopped using it. From some people say because his voice. So Freud actually had a throat cancer in last couple of years in his life, and probably
Mhm.
his voice was not quite suitable. Other people say that actually he was quite shy in using hypnosis as well. We don't know what the real truth is, of course. But obviously, there are different types of hypnosis nowadays. There are like, let's say, two, three main types of hypnosis. In the past, if we talk about hypnosis, the most popular method was this authoritative method. When the professional is literally ordering the client to fall asleep, let's say, like looking at his
Mhm.
or her, look at their eyes and providing this short like authoritative suggestions like sleep and this kind of stuff. However, there was a man actually who was born in 1901 in America, Arizona. He's called Dr. Milton Erickson. He passed away in 1980, and he was the establisher of the second main approach of hypnosis nowadays, what we call the Ericksonian approach. And for his approach, he actually proposed, he said, well, the people don't need to be forced to go into hypnosis anymore. When you talk to somebody, when you have a nice conversation with somebody, actually, you're going into a kind of natural hypnotic state. And I believe like your listeners now when they like listen the podcast, if they find anything like interesting in it, they may go into this natural hypnotic state. So how we can recognize it? Actually, we are switching off from what's going on around us,
Mhm.
and we are going into a kind of like our internal world. And every one of us has this experience, I believe. For
Mhm.
example, I don't know whether you drive, but
Yeah.
sometimes, yes, if you drive like long distances, and if anything happened to you, anything emotional, like last couple of days, let's say, or in the past years, or whatever, if you start thinking about it,
Mhm.
you are diving into yourself, and you may start like, when people fall in love, for example, they may start thinking about the other person. So it comes straight away, like in our mind. You may you may literally see vividly the other person's like smile, face, how they reacted sometimes, what they told you, in what way, all of this kind of stuff. So it's a kind of natural hypnotic state as well, lasting for a couple of minutes.
That's really interesting. I'm interested more so like in terms of how it's used in like the legal settings based on all of that.
Yes, Daisy, thank you very much for bringing me back to the topic.
Everything you're saying is great.
No, thanks. Yeah, so basically in the legal settings, we have to be extremely careful when we
Yeah.
use hypnosis. Why? Because it's believed that when somebody is in a hypnotic state, they're quite receptive towards what the professional is going to say.
Mhm.
So that's why it's a very tricky field, really. And all of these sessions, they have to be suitably recorded, at least audio recorded. If video recorded as well, that would be the best. Why? It's not necessarily because the professional is going to do something wrong. Well, they can be, if not obviously trained suitably and etc. But at the same time, sometimes during the hypnotic state, the people may have this kind of what we call confabulations. So it's like twisted memories about something. For example, if you're an experienced professional, let's say, if you put me in such a condition, in such a state, if you ask me, well, George, have you been feeling all right today? It's a kind of like leading question, because basically for me, trying to justify your question, because I accept you as a professional, as a kind of authority during the session, basically, I may say, actually, yes. But, because I'm responding to your question the way you asked it to me. So you have to basically to provide open questions when it is down to taking an account from the person, let's say. So you have to ask, for example, not whether the person who robbed you was strongest, stocky man with a Cockney accent, let's say. If you ask this, obviously the other person may just reply to your question saying yes, which is not necessarily going to be the truth. So you have to be very neutral even in asking the questions. Again, for somebody being in a hypnotic state, these people can be quite vulnerable in terms of even the intonation of the professional. So the way you are asking the question as well. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's a little bit tricky point. That's why it's not quite popular here in some countries, because as you basically mentioned earlier, in 2006, I was quite fascinated by the subject, and I had a speech in a national conference. I was still working for the Ministry of Interior at that time, definitely. And I was asked one day, actually, by my manager, whether I can help for a case where a child was basically disappeared. It's still not clear where the child is, whether he's still alive. And then my manager called me and asked me. He said, well, actually, the police officers, they had been doing this investigation for a number of months now. And they hit the wall. They cannot proceed. They don't know what else to do. So basically, they're at that point. And in such a situation, actually, yes, hypnosis can be used very carefully to obtain a little bit more information from the possible witness. But again, we have to be extremely careful because, as I mentioned already, the people sometimes may provide like false full memories, hypnosis to justify the person asking them. So basically, I said, yes, that would be, if I can help, of course, I'll be more than happy to. But actually, after that, I don't know what happened. We didn't go ahead with that case. But yes, I do remember some funny cases as well. So there was a funny case. I do remember there was a guy who actually used to work in the authorities, like border control. He used to work for them. And one day he came to me and asked me whether I would be able to help him. It's a little bit probably funny case for, for somebody. He basically saved a lot of money somewhere, like banknotes, real money. At that time, we're talking about 2008, maybe 8 or 7. And he basically hid this money somewhere in a box in his house, because he wanted to keep this money away from his wife. Yes, exactly. And after like a year, actually, he recalled about that money. He wanted to start using it for something, to go and buy, I don't know what it was, like car, maybe a vehicle or whatever. But he couldn't recall actually where exactly he put the money. And after that, we started actually. I put him in a hypnotic state. And in a moment, because very rarely, but especially for the legal aims, the people can talk. If we do like normal hypnosis, the people would rather avoid to talk because they feel very relaxed and their tongue can be quite lazy as well. So basically, he in that specific case, obviously, he had to talk to tell me what he sees and etc. for me to keep guiding him, which I did again in a neutral way, not to say go into the kitchen, let's say, look at the cupboard. No, nothing like that. So you have to be very careful when you do hypnosis. I mean, very balanced. So you have to encourage the person to keep going, but at the same time, not to give them like a direct guidance, if you understand what I mean. It's like when you walk next to a child, I suppose. So you're not like pushing the child to go in the specific direction, but you're there to support, you know. And that man in a moment said, yes, I see the money now. And I got excited. I got excited. That happened like in the middle of the session, like half an hour after we started. And I asked him, I tried to control my voice because I was excited myself. We were talking about a few thousand. So that was a big amount of money at the time. And he said, yes, I see I'm putting actually the box in a small, I don't know how to clarify it now, how to call it. It's like small place where he was putting a lot of unneeded stuff. If you understand what I mean.
Like a storage.
Exactly, yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Like a kind of storage, really. He said, I see myself, I'm putting this money in an old box of something like a radio or something like that, just to hide it, obviously. And after that, he got frozen. He got silent. And after a couple of seconds said, oh my God, no. And I asked him, what's going on now? Because, in hypnosis, sometimes people may go through painful moments as well. That happens sometimes. And he said, well, actually, I see myself now cleaning up the storage and I'm throwing out a lot of stuff in the bin.
Oh, no.
And he said, exactly. And so I didn't see any meaning to keep proceeding with the session. Then I gently got him back in the reality that needs to be made in a like careful way as well. It's not just like, okay, stand up now, go home. It doesn't work like this. So you should be careful all the time, whatever you do. And after that, I asked him, okay, do you remember what you just told me a couple of minutes ago? Do you still see the pictures? And he said, yes. Actually, I think I threw the money out in that box, unfortunately, because basically he had forgotten that he got money in that specific box. I asked him gently, if you one day manage to find your money somewhere at home, hopefully you will, just please come back to me, drop me a line, just for me to know. So sometimes these things happen, basically. The human memory is a fascinating subject. We don't know everything about it yet.
It sounds very extensive as well.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Basically, they say, because some people are talking about the type recorder model of the memory. So they believe in from the first minute when we get born, when we come into this world, actually our unconscious mind starts like recording everything, every single moment till the end of our life. While the conscious mind, obviously, which is a little bit quite different actually, it doesn't work all the time. It works only when we are awake and when we are here now, like concentrated in whatever we do. But at the moment when we like go into a little bit like a relaxed state, when we go inside ourselves internally, we're going into a hypnotic state. And basically this is the main principle for the hypnosis being used in the courts in some countries in the world.
Mhm.
Because the professionals there, they believe that because of this model of the memory, like working all the time, every single minute of our life, that's how actually we can go back into the specific moment and to recall what happened. And
Do you,
yeah,
no, I was just gonna say, like, because you're making my brain go now. Do you think there's like a limit on how far you can go back in your memory or your mind, I guess, when this hypnosis state?
to be honest, I don't think there is any limit, Daisy.
Wow.
Because yes, when we talk about the regression in hypnosis, we have basically two main types of regression. One is what we call age regression, so we are going back into the current life. When we talk about the post-life regression, we are going in either further down, like in previous reincarnations. So here I have to clarify, because I've been asked all the time whether I
Mhm.
truly accept the conception of reincarnation.
Mhm.
I have to clarify that I'm open-minded here, so I cannot say that they definitely exist. I cannot say they don't.
Mhm.
But in America, for example, especially in this field, there are some like institutes, like practices focused on how going back into the past can treat the person from specific problems. And some people, they actually request exactly this. They want to go back in the past for whatever reason. And so I cannot say that what you're gonna see, for example, in the past, in
Mhm.
past post life, like let's say the previous life or whatever, is definitely gonna be true. I cannot say that, because my job is not to prove the truth. My job is basically to help
Yeah.
therapeutically if I can. And if I've got the effect, if I've got the result from such a session, I'm happy then. And if it
Nice.
is, of course, not against the person's beliefs. And
Mhm.
some people, they can be a little bit. I'm not forcing anyone actually, because obviously I'm focused now on my forensic practice as well. But sometimes I still, yeah, being used by different people, being sorry caught and asked by different people. For example, there was a guy who was going through a painful moment because his wife actually left him. He wanted to bring her back, and he wasn't quite sure whether what he was supposed to do. This is what he told me the first couple of minutes when we met. And he said, I'm not quite sure whether I will have to fight for her, to keep chasing her,
Mhm.
or the other option for him was just to leave her to go, of course. And that was an interesting case, really, for me as well, and for him. So, what we did actually, I asked him, okay, what is the best possible way you believe I would be able to help you? And he said, well, I definitely believe in reincarnation. So I want to go back in the past and to see whether we were together in previous lives. And I say, okay, not a problem. We can do that. So we did it. And I do remember he was talking to me. Basically, in that session, he saw three different lives when they were together in all of them. The
Wow.
first life, yes, he was. I'm talking about the case now from 2012, I think. Yes, he basically saw himself and his wife together as a family, but many centuries ago. So he couldn't clarify where they were living, but he told me that his wife actually passed away because of some terrible disease. I don't know whether it was the black heath or something like that. And he said, because we live in a small village somewhere, actually, it's a kind of like a ritual here for the people. When somebody passes away, to put that person like on a piece of wood and just to push it down on the sea. He said that's how actually how my wife got away from me at that life.
Mm. Okay.
In another life, he saw somebody like in the middle of the night entered their house trying to rob them, basically a criminal. And he said, but because we hear the noise, we actually got away quite quickly. and that guy realized that there were people in the house, and he killed my wife basically and ran away. Yeah, so this kind of stuff. So in conclusion, basically, he told to himself, he decided himself after finishing the session that he has to go and keep fighting for his wife. So yes, I have to clarify here that the real professional in the hypnosis field will never suggest you any specific decision
Mhm.
in your life. They will try to encourage you. Obviously, they will stay close to you until
Mhm.
the moment, but you have to go ahead in your own way. You have to make your choices, um, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, you have to be very neutral, I guess, to not guide the direction. No, it makes sense. It's just must be quite hard to do, especially if you create an opinion at some point.
To be honest, I believe this is like everything in our world. If you are
Mm.
really interested and fascinated in anything, you will do it without any efforts, and you will go quite quickly. Yeah.
It's very interesting. No, thank you. Thank you for that. I just want to go into like because you've got a great CV,
Oh,
and I was looking through your CV, and I actually was trying to figure out, like I wanted to touch on one of your publications. So the one that kind of captivated me, let's say, was the one titled "Hypnosis and Some Abilities of Using It in the Court Trial." I think you believe you first presented this in Bulgaria in a conference, and then it was later adapted and published in the Journal of the International Hypnotherapy Association in 2015. Are you able, like, can you like tell me a bit about that research or like what inspired that research?
yes, I'll tell you. Of course, Daisy. So if we go back in 2006, whilst I was still working for the Ministry of Interior, so in the Ministry of Interior was the police and some other authorities at the same time. So me as a psychologist at the time, I worked very close to them, basically trying to help in whatever they were doing. So like recruitment, training the staff, like psychotherapy sometimes in terms of PTSD because of what happened whilst they were on duties, all of this stuff, and criminal profiling as well. We use the lie detector as well, but that may be probably a possible topic for an podcast.
Controversial.
Yes, it's not quite popular in the UK, and I was thinking because obviously I was involved sometimes in this police questioning of witnesses as well. Sometimes they got the perpetrator, but for example, they don't know how exactly to question him or question them because it may be a woman, of course, as well. And I do remember there was a case, so that was not a good case, of course. Well, there is no criminal case that can be good, of course, but in that case was about a sexual offender. So there were some kids involved in the case, and yeah, awful case, terrible case. But obviously part of the job, and so the situation was quite tricky because the police investigators working on the case, they felt themselves that they can be quite angry with such a person because obviously they knew what he had done.
Yeah.
And in such cases, normally they call the psychologists to go there. So we're sitting there. Sometimes we're asking the questions. And basically, what we are trying to do is to go and obtain some like recollection of what happened. And because in that case, the crime was quite long lasting. So that was basically a couple of years crime, involved a lot of kids and stuff. So the perpetrator wasn't able to recall everything they did. So the questioning needed to be like very careful, very like slow. It's not like 1 hour work, but sometimes it takes hours, sometimes days as well, obviously. So yes, in such cases, I've been involved, and I've been thinking myself, okay, there should be a way, for the people to remain neutral, but at the same time to keep obtaining the information from questioning when it is obviously in criminal proceedings. And I found the way for probably hypnosis was the answer to me at the time. I definitely need to repeat this again because I'll keep repeating it. Hypnosis is not always applicable, not all the time. And sometimes it's better not to be used. But yes, sometimes it can be used. It's just another hole on the belt that you can use. And for example, in America, I know that there was ex FBI inspector who started training the inspectors how to use very basic, very level, but enough hypnosis when they question like witnesses. So they can use it. Well, in the States, obviously, it depends on the specific state, because in some states it is allowed, in other states it's not. But I again went through the same topic in 2014, I think, when I published my article, my second article in the Hypnotherapist Journal. Yes, as you mentioned. So at that time, our association was called the Hypnotherapy Association. So it became the International Hypnotherapy Association just before the lockdown, a couple of years before that. But it's predominantly a British one, so it's based in England. And by the way, we're gonna have this like annual conference, which is gonna be in June. So
Where is that going to be?
it's gonna be in a place called the Horsley Estate in Surrey. So that's southwest London.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If whoever is interested,
Yeah, no, definitely.
basically the hotel seems very nice. I have more probably to clarify here that our conferences, they are not quite like in the university, you know, like somebody's providing lectures and the other people just listen. It goes always in a very like warm, friendly way, so the people basically establish good friendships, and it's quite practical. There are normally a variety of topics. It's going to be one day on the 13th of June this year, and it's going to be more practical way. So it's going to be more like clinically focused. So there are not a lot of people that can talk about legal proceedings and stuff in the hypnosis field. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very like it seems like it's a growing area though. I guess it's interesting because I think you see sort of different opinions on like around it, but it's like I'm very intrigued in how everything you're saying. And I actually would like to know, no, I'd like to know. So with the hypnosis and the abilities of using it in the court trial,
Sure.
what would you say like some of like the key findings or your key arguments explored in that publication were?
Oh, yes. Okay. So that was mostly like a kind of observation, really, about how hypnosis is being used in different countries. And because I relied on some other colleagues in all of those countries, I was curious also to see what kind of bodies they have and how actually hypnosis is being used and approved in their countries as well. In some of those countries, actually, it wasn't used for anything else than hypnotherapy, so for clinical and medical reasons. In other countries, even for medical, the people were quite skeptical, so they associated hypnosis with something, as I mentioned at the beginning, like religion, this kind of stuff, spirituality. It can be, but not necessarily. In other countries, the people, actually the scientists, they were quite seriously considering hypnosis, which I really liked. And yes, basically my PhD a couple of years ago that I started was focused on hypnotherapy and suggestions. I'm a PhD candidate now. So some people, they believe that hypnosis is kind of equivalent to suggestions, but it's not always the reality. So there is a difference. We can talk about it. Yeah, so my conclusions from that article, from that research, 2012, for myself, was that we as professionals, as scientists, we have definitely to keep exploring that field as well. I was quite surprised to realize that I had colleagues, for example, other psychologists, they were saying, well, is hypnosis? No. I say, well, why we should be open-minded? You know, you cannot be quite rigid in your thinking and etc. So when it is down to witness reports, for example, quite often I use obviously a variety of different psychometric tools, depend on the case. There is a way to realize how suggestible somebody is, because sometimes, which is I believe is a big problem, sometimes when the police catch somebody like at the scene of the crime, like a perpetrator, sometimes the police, this is my observation, sometimes the police don't necessarily have the skills how to question that person. Sometimes they don't remain neutral, but instead they approach the person in an angry way. Sometimes they're kind of like blameful way,
Yeah.
even if they don't say you are the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Can be quite, quite furious, and then the person may actually accept what the police ask him, and they may say, or they may say yes, oh, sorry, they may accept something that they hadn't done. And this is the problem, because at the later stage, when it is down to court proceedings, sometimes the person obviously starts understanding how severe the whole matter is, and they want to basically to clarify that they made a mistake when they say yes to some questions, but obviously it's too late. And this is sometimes part of my expertise as well, for me to prove whether that person is highly suggestible or not as much, or obviously we deal with likelihoods in our profession, but definitely this is something that I truly believe in. So the authorities shouldn't be, like pointing out somebody straight away without having proper evidence and like all of these stages. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting as well. Do you think that the legal system has progressed in its understanding or its acceptance of its methods since the last publication? So I guess the second one was 2015. Do you think it's progressed?
Well, I can talk obviously about the system here in the UK, because I've been working here as a forensic psychologist for maybe more than 7 years actually. Yes, but quite intensively last couple of years now. I can talk also about the situation in my country of origin, which is Bulgaria, because I was part of the authorities over there, and sometimes I still do some jobs. So if I have to compare, I believe the things here are pretty much more ahead, which I believe would surprise some senior people working for the system here. But here the system can be a little bit, quite flexible, actually.
Really?
Yes, honestly, yes. So, for example, here the system pays attention on vulnerable witnesses. Sometimes, if somebody needs an intermediary during the trial, the system is happy to provide one. The system is happy to provide sometimes with travel expenses to people if they struggle to attend court. The system also accepts a video hearing as well. For example, yesterday I was involved in one, like out of the blue, a little bit like, yes, this is the bad thing. Sometimes in the legal system, the things can be quite urgent. Like yesterday, I was called for a case that I worked on like over half a year ago, and 2-3 hours before the actual trial, they asked me yesterday, George, we really need you for your witness report. And I say, okay, but you are putting me in a difficult situation because I was waiting to start an assessment with somebody. Thanks God I managed to sort out the things. So basically I turned up very easily over the screen. I didn't need to go to a specific court to wait there, the judge to come to join, and all of that stuff. So we can talk a lot about the prison service as well, if you believe it's going to be interesting, Daisy. But I'm not sure we have enough time.
No, but maybe it's we invite you back for another one, just because prison would be another interesting topic.
Yes, yeah.
I guess then let me, because in the interest of time, if I can just conclude then with like my final question, I guess that is like in my mind. Do you think from a solicitor's perspective, when might they consider instructing an expert like you with this kind of specialism?
Okay, yes, thanks. So again, very good question. I'm not saying this as a compliment, but definitely very honestly, very practical, very useful question. I suppose for the people that are going to listen to this podcast now, because yes, the use of hypnosis in the legal system is not quite popular, as I mentioned, here in the UK yet, which is from one side sounds a little bit like not a good thing, but on the other hand, it's a good thing because the people are not quite willing to make a kind of experiments in the legal system using hypnosis. So Basically, hypnosis we can use first when somebody needs to be calmed down. So it's clearly when somebody's under pressure, like ruminating, going through some stuff that happened in the past. It's very difficult for these people to recall what exactly happened because of the emotional pressure they're going through. So calming them down for a specific time actually can be quite helpful in terms of obtaining witness account. So in such a situation, it can be helpful. Definitely. So, especially for the solicitors, in all of the cases where abuse was involved, I believe, can be quite helpful. Whether we have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or complex PTSD, which is down to a few actually traumatic events, not to a single one. So, like sexual abuse, maybe physical or emotional abuse, this kind of stuff. Or also, it can be used in cases when the witness was exposed at the crime scene for a very short period of time, for a couple of minutes, for example. And again, because of them being quite shocked afterwards, they wouldn't be able easily to recall what exactly happened. In such a cases, what the current situation is, normally the investigators or even the witness experts with the professionals would say, okay, that person cannot recall, so let's leave it. But actually sometimes it's even a minimal effort from a professional side is definitely helpful to obtain a little bit more information. So in such a situation, obviously we're going to need a little bit more time, the professionals, which should be justified by the budget and etc., of course. So in what specific cases? Yes, again, criminal cases, definitely. I believe civil or probably not as much. I don't see it too much there. Family law, sometimes it can be like overlapping with criminal as well when kids are involved, if they've been victims of abuse and etc. Especially with victims, sometimes hypnosis can be also quite highly productive because so for the kids they are normally the easier subjects for hypnosis. But definitely, again, I have to underline here that when a professional is going to use hypnosis in such a context, definitely they have to be a video record of the session. There should be all of this equipment there, or a kind of somebody like sitting in the room, but should be the best. That person should be a kind of a neutral person, and definitely the professional who's gonna do the session, who's gonna provide the session, must be neutral. It shouldn't be somebody from the police or from the prosecution service. It should be impartial, just to guarantee that everything is gonna be in a neutral way there. And yes, that person should be quite objective. So the best professional for me should be somebody who's got the legal experience and at the same time hypnotherapeutic skills as well, like being trained in hypnosis use as well.
Well, no, that's a very good answer actually, because that was very thorough as well. I mean, I do have one. I know in the interest of time, and I know you're a very busy person.
I have time. Don't worry. Yeah.
I would like to just sort of know, like on a personal note, what do you find the most rewarding like aspect of your work and everything you do?
Yes, thanks. It's a little bit again, I have to mention this gold word here, balance. I don't know, it's a little bit strange. To be honest, I'm asking myself sometimes, because I'm pretty sure that I'm doing my work in a good way. I did a lot of like parole hearing reports for the parole board, which is part of the MOJ. I keep doing obviously the job, keep receiving instructions from different solicitors offices and etc. So which means which gives me some confidence, because we have to look for the feedback. Basically, we have to be sensitive to the feedback we receive. If we became like extremely self-confident, sometimes we're going too far away. It's not the right thing for me. So I'm quite happy when I talk to a client, and when I see, because normally at the first couple of minutes they're coming, because I've got all of this set of psychometrics at the table, and I'm explaining them what we're gonna do. I'm explaining them about the confidentiality, the purpose of the meeting, and etc. And I explain them that it's a voluntary participation, so it depends on them. Nobody's forcing them to join, to participate.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to see when the person gets like calm after a couple of minutes, what we call establishing a report. So of course, at the beginning, even if that was me, going to a professional person, to a professionalist who's gonna assess me today, everyone's gonna be a little bit like scared, of course, nervous and this kind of stuff, shy. So when I see the people became like more calm, like calmer, more like focused after a couple of minutes, is definitely helpful in my work. Actually, my experience in mental health hospitals here in the UK, secure mental health hospitals, is quite helpful in terms of diagnostic. And I believe I know how to approach the different types of condition that the people are going through, because somebody may be depressed, somebody may have schizophrenia, somebody may have bipolar affective disorder and other stuff, personality disorder. So the most rewarding thing is for me to know that I did my job like on time, which I always try to. And yes, then I really feel like rewarded, pretty much. Nothing else can give me this sense of fulfillment. Nothing else.
Amazing. No,
Yes.
I'm really inspired by your work. So obviously, I want to say thank you. I know we've been back and forth trying to arrange, and I know you're a very busy person, so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And I know I've definitely learned a lot from this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Daisy.
Yeah.
Yes, I really find it fascinating, your podcast, because it's quite helpful. When the people, the professionals, we are talking like in a normal, understandable way, if you want to put it like this. Because me personally, I'll be struggle to go through kind of like a very academic report, and if I have to listen, let's say somebody like astrophysics or somebody professor, if they start using all of these terms, I'll be like overwhelmed after a couple of minutes. And this is what I see in your podcast, because I made my own, obviously, inquiry before starting today, and I find it really like helpful to the people as well. And I'm sure, because I'm gonna share it with some friends of mine.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's definitely something we want to keep like an informal conversation and provide our listeners with this platform so they can learn more about not only obviously our expert witness services, but the professionals that we have in our database. It's been a very insightful session, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daisy. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Thank you.